Hello, welcome to my channel. This is Rick's Garage, and I'm Rick, and this is my YouTube channel, and I want to thank you for watching. This is a continuation of the Ducati Tamiya motorcycle that I've been building. It is a challenge to myself against the Plasma channel, and I'm taking a little bit of a break because I am building this bike again for a friend of mine who saw the build on the channel, and he mentioned that he would like to have one for himself. So I've repurchased the Tamiya kit, and I also repurchased the Detail-Up kit, which again I will put a link in the descriptions and where I bought this. But I wanted to show you that I was able to construct the metal chain. It is essentially done. I just have some details that I have to put on. I got to finish putting more details on the gears, but essentially the chain in of itself is done. And I wanted to explain to you how I was able to do this. As you recall, the first time I tried it was a total disaster. I've done it again, and this time I completed it. And I've gone online trying to find secrets and tips on how to construct the chain. I couldn't find anything. Every time I reached out to someone, it said there is no trick, you just have to do the best you can. So I did the best I could. Let me explain to you what I did and the tools that I used. First, you are going to need thin cement. This is the mistake I did on the first time. I was using regular super glue. You don't want to use regular super glue. You want to use super thin CA glue, and I'll put a link in the descriptions where I bought that. You are going to need a disposable brush, and I just bought these at my local Hobby Lobby store. You are going to need a magnifying headset, and I will put in the descriptions on where I have this. This one here has also an LED light that you can turn on that will help you see a little bit more clearly. And it also comes with a whole bunch of different lenses too, of different magnifying lenses. You are also going to need a magnet screwdriver that's been magnetized. This one here is a wear screwdriver. I will put in the link in the descriptions where I purchased this. The one that I use is a PH00 screwdriver, but anything that is a pointed end that's magnetized will work. You can even use a pin vise. This is a sewing needle that I cut and then just put it in my pin vise. You can magnetize this if you want to and use that. And the other thing that you're going to need is a lot of patience. This actually took me 6 days to get to this point. It took me 6 days, 3 or 4 hours per day, trying to put this together. The pins that you need to put in are these size pins. I'm going to zoom in a little bit further here so you can see the pins. And those pins are about 1.8 to 1.9 millimeters in length. So they're very, 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 very tiny, which is why I think you're going to need a magnifying screwdriver. Okay, and the other thing you're going to need is a lot of patience. Take your time on doing this. Now, this is not 100% perfect, as you can probably see. I was learning as I was going, and I was correcting mistakes as I was going. But all in all, you can see that I was basically able to get those pins in pretty straight. Okay, they have a little bit of a bent to them or a slant to them that goes inward in this direction here, but essentially they're in there pretty straight. To correct the shift of the template moving in this direction and in this direction, I learned that during the build, and I used that process on this side where you can see that the pins are a little bit more straight than on the other side. Okay, so this is what I did. The first thing I did is that I constructed and put the gears together, and the gears together consist of just 2 parts. Move this away here. I glued these 2 together, and I glued these 2 together. That's all I did. That's all that you see here. The second thing I did is that the templates come on this card here, and I removed the templates, both of them, both of the this template here and this template here. That's the top portion that you see here, and then here's the bottom portion. That's what you're seeing on from these pieces here. All right, so the first thing I did was I started on this end, this way, with this detail of the gear facing up. Okay, which you can see that the details of the gear face toward you. All right, and taking the bottom template, I put pins and just brushed very lightly, as little as I could, the thin CA glue along the bottom of those pins that went around in a half moon circle here. So I put pins here all the way around, and then I put CA glue on those pins on the bottom template. That's all I had, just the bottom template. Once the pins were in, I then put the gear in place where they should be. Then I put the top template on top to sandwich the gear between the top template and the bottom template, and that more or less ensured me that those pins were in straight, because the pins have two lugs. I have a lug here and here on both sides. This lug here went into the bottom hole on the bottom template, and this lug goes into the top hole of the top template, all the way around. So you get that sandwich look. Okay? So you'll see pins popping up on this side, and you'll see pins popping up on this side. I followed the same process on this side as well. Then I took the top template and I pushed it down, and that assured me that the templates were in complete alignment with each other, and that also assured me that the pins were straight up and down as well as left and right, so that the template was not shifted this way, and it was not shifting in this direction. Move this down a little bit. And also, too, that they were not going to shift up or shift down here. The top template mirrors exactly to the bottom. And that's what anchoring this end and anchoring this end did. Once they were anchored in, I let the glue completely dry for about an hour. I really wanted to make sure those pins were going to be cemented in completely, because I was going to constantly remove the top template as I inserted more pins along the straight line here and more pins along this straight line here. I was constantly removing and replacing the top template to ensure that those pins were themselves straight. So what I would do is that after this section here was completely anchored in, move this over a little bit. After this section was completely anchored in, and this section was completely anchored in, I started to add some pins, and I focused on one area, or on one side. So I put in about maybe 5 or 6 pins, replaced the top template, reassuring that everything was still in alignment. I then turned the assembly upside down, and I brushed CA glue along those pins on the bottom, because I wanted those pins to be anchored firmly on the bottom. Okay, then I waited about 30-40 minutes. I then completed the process again, added 5 or 6 more pins, put just a little bit of CA glue at the very bottom, replaced the top template, holding it down firmly, and you can hear it snap into place. I then rechecked it by looking at it this way with my hands, turned it upside down, brushed some CA glue along those new pins, waited for it to dry for about 30 or 40 minutes, and I repeated the process. And that's what I did all along. Putting in 4 or 5 pins can take you about, well, it took me about anywhere between 20 or 30 minutes. So doing 20 pins, you're working on it for about an hour or two. And when you're hunched over and you're doing this delicate work, and it could take, you've got the pin magnetized on the end of your screwdriver, you're trying to line it up to that hole, and the pin pops off. It doesn't align properly with a hole. It doesn't hang properly from the screwdriver. The pin might drop off from the screwdriver because it's a very delicate hold on it anyway, because the pin is going to be wiggling back and forth. So as the pin is wiggling back and forth and you're trying to get that pin into the hole, it could take a very long time. It could take 30-40 minutes to get 5 or 6 pins into the hole. So that's why it takes so long, because you're going to wear yourself out, you're going to get tired, your back is going to hurt, your neck is going to hurt, it's going to get sore because you're hunched over for so long. And you do need to take a break here and there. So that's why it took me about 5 days to get to this point here. This morning, I constructed the gear and put the gear in and added the last bit of pins. And that's what I did this morning. So that's how I was able to do the chain. I think it looks pretty good. I did clean it up a little bit. I used a little bit of silver powdering from Tamiya to make that spark a little bit, but that's really not necessary, because one of the end processes that you're going to do, you'll notice here in the instructions, I'll move this over slightly so you can see better. You're going to take these plates, for lack of a better term, and you're going to place them on the top template, and you're going to place them on the bottom template. And that's what these are here. I don't know if you can see this or not. These right here, move this down, there you go. You're going to take each one of these and you're going to glue them on top and marry them between each hole. So the hole in this, bring this down, the hole here is going to match to a hole that's on here. And all you got to do is just glue those on, and these are going to dress up and make the chain pop out a little bit more, and also hide a lot of mistakes from gluing and so on and so forth. And that's going to make that look a lot better. But I'm not going to do that yet. In fact, you'll notice here on the instructions that there's still some assembly that needs to be done. This is a resin part that needs to be glued into place. And then we have these metal details that are going to be affixed to this. And then we have a series of other metal details that are going to be affixed to the back gear here. And it's going to form a nut. Once all these pieces are together, it's going to form a hex nut on top of that, so that it will be used to affix the gear onto the bike. Because this is actually screwed into the bike. And I want to do that at the last minute, as this is ready to go onto the bike, because I don't want to assemble these pieces yet until I'm ready to put it on the bike. This piece here has to go in a certain orientation because it's got to lock into the wheel. There is a half moon hole here that's going to match into the lug of the wheel, and so that's got to be put on exactly correct. And these pieces here have to line up perfectly. So that, bring this over a little bit further. These pieces here have to line up perfectly so that the screw that goes through this is going to be able to fit through as it screws into the bike. So I want to do that the last minute. I don't want to take any pieces out right now because I'm not ready to build the bike right now. What I really wanted to do was to construct this metal piece. And I did this because I'm in the process of waiting for some other pieces to dry on the first bike that I'm doing. So I'm going to zoom this out. So this is one of the side armors that I have painted, and waiting for it to do the masking of the color. I've already masked off and painted the red cowl here. As you can see, that's all been painted, and that's ready to go onto the bike. I still have to put a plastic piece underneath that will hold the windshield in place, but essentially this piece is done. And because I did put some clear coat on this, I wanted that to completely dry before I started to mask it off and paint the red. And there's a black stripe that goes down the bottom right here before I did all that, because I didn't want to damage the clear coat with any type of adhesive from the masking tape. And I am using Tamiya masking tape for that. So while these pieces are drying, I'm going to let the clear coat dry for about 4 or 5 days. And coincidentally, it took about 4 or 5 days to complete the metal part. So I wanted to go and show you that I was able to do it. I am really excited that I was able to complete this. The other thing too that you want to keep in mind, that when this goes on the bike, you're only going to see about that much, well here, about that much of the chain. Everything else is completely hidden from the bike. If you look at the picture of the bike, you can see that you're only going to see this part of the chain. Everything else is hidden. So let me bring out the chain again. So you're looking at the chain, and put it this way. So the chain is going to show this much on the bike. It's going to show this much here. Let's see if you can see it a little bit better there. No, I really can't. There we go. So following it from here all the way around, the visual aspect of the chain only goes from about here, and you can see the chain all the way to about maybe here. All the rest of it is completely hidden behind this shield. So you want to keep that in mind too as you're building this. Now for me, the shields do come off. You can remove the shields if you want to, but screwing them in and unscrewing them and replacing them and put them on, I think over time you're really risking breaking apart, damaging a part. It's not very easy to remove these. They are anchored in 3 different places. In this particular piece here, there's a screw here, there's a screw there, and there's an anchor point at the very bottom here. And you got to get that in, you got to screw them in, remove it. To me, it's a lot of work. But you know, it's your model, you do what you want with it. But for me, once these are on, it's going to remain on the bike, period. Which is why I've taken a lot of pictures of the detail of the engine, because once these are on, you're never going to see the detail of the engine again. Okay, well that's it. Again, the chain is done. Just some minor details that need to be done. It's ready to go onto the bike when I get to this part of the stage of that new build. I hope this was helpful. And if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please remember to subscribe. Other than that, have a great day and always have fun in your workshop. Take care. We'll see you next time.